everybody? Looks like it. All right, welcome. This meeting of the Centennial School Board is called to order at 6:45 p.m. on Wednesday, July 20th, and a quorum is present virtually. Hello and welcome, everyone. So looking at the agenda, the meeting agenda has been distributed in your board pack. Are there any amendments to the agenda that need to be made today? And if those virtual can raise your hand, like do the raise your hand feature, it'll really help me to catch that. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous vote. The agenda has been approved as presented. At this point, the next item on our agenda, 1.2, is the swearing in of the new board member who is currently not here. So we're going to have to wait on that until the next board meeting. We will move on to introduction of guests. Superintendent Owens, would you like to jump in?
Absolutely. Try that again. What's that?
You don't need to have the computer on.
Got it. Thank you. I didn't realize I was unmuted. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Jared, are you here? There he is. Looks like he's still at school. All right. Good to see everybody tonight. Thanks for being with us. And it's my pleasure to share the selection of Jared Austin, who is the new principal of Powell Butte Elementary. Jared is succeeding Marin Miller, who has transitioned to the role of Centennial High School principal as of July 1. Jarrett has strong ties to Powell Butte and the Centennial School District community. For the past 8 years, Jarrett has served at Powell Butte Elementary, most recently as the school's assistant principal. As the assistant principal, Jarrett's leadership has been evident through the supporting of the development of the Student Success Plan, creating and facilitating professional development opportunities, and providing assistance with managing the school. Prior to his role as the assistant principal, his leadership experience included an administrative internship at Powell Butte and as a summer school administrator. Jarrett has taught at the elementary school level at Powell Butte Elementary. Before that, he worked at Gresham Arthur Academy. Jarrett has taken on many leadership roles at the building and school levels, including leading professional development sessions and participating on committees. He served as a committee member on both the district's math and language arts and English language development adoption committees. Additionally, he has participated on the district's math leadership team, the East Metro Mathematics Leadership Project, and the Math Coaching and Leadership Network. Jarrett obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in business from Portland State University, a Master of Arts in Teaching from Concordia University, and his administrative credential from George Fox University. Born and raised in Portland, Oregon, Jarrett attended school in the Centennial School District, and he graduated from Centennial High School. He's been married for 18 years and is a proud parent of 3 children who are entering 3rd grade, 6th grade, and 9th grade in the upcoming school year. Jarrett loves spending time with his family, being active, and watching and coaching his kids in sports. Someone who prides himself on building deep connections with students, staff, and families, Jarrett looks forward to continuing to make Powell Butte Elementary a place where all feel welcome, is a great place for learning, and a hub for the community to come together. Jarrett has been actively working with Principal Miller to ensure a smooth transition to Powell Butte Elementary. Please join me in congratulating Jarrett on his new leadership role in Centennial. And Jarrett, if I've left anything for you to share, feel free to go ahead and unmute and introduce yourself.
All right. Thank you for welcoming me tonight. I'm super excited to continue to serve at Pal Butte, and I'm so lucky to be part of that fantastic community and the larger Centennial community as a whole. Like James said, I've been a part of Centennial for a long time, so it's my privilege to continue to be a part of it and keep moving forward and keep us all moving in the same direction. So thank you.
Thanks for being with us tonight. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Oh, thank you so much. We're really excited to have you and just so proud that you are a Centennial student and here you are the incoming Pal Butte principal. So kudos and welcome. Looking at the previous minutes, the draft was distributed in your board pack. Are there any corrections or amendments that need to be made? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Unanimous vote, the minutes have been adopted. Next up is public forum. Do we have any comments that have come in? Great. Thank you very much. Next up, we go to item 5, reports. Can I turn it over to you, Superintendent Owens?
All right. Thanks so much, Chair Slosky. I will go ahead and share with you as I get this queued up. Our superintendent's report. So there's a lot going on. I'll try to keep things clipping along, but I also want to make sure to share relevant and timely information and updates that are happening now in the Centennial School District. The first thing I'll share is that bond work is in full force. These pictures are not of current bond projects, but things that have been completed previously. With students and staff largely out of most buildings, summer is prime time accessibility to make headway on the construction projects. I'll keep this part of the update short so as to not steal Scott and Paul's thunder on their quarterly bond update, except to say that there is a lot of work happening in the district, as evidenced by the rerouted access that Claudia and Chair Solowski endured on the way in for attending in person. And while the construction does pose minor inconveniences in terms of accessibility and noise and other things, I see it as short-term pain for long-term gain, and excited to see and share with you once the final projects have been completed. So that's definitely a point of pride for the work that's happening this summer. I also wanted to share with you an administrative staffing update. On the topic of things being in full swing, we are we are well on our way with filling key administrative positions. We have more positions than we would have liked to come up needing to be filled in early summer, and this is consistent with trends elsewhere in school districts in the area and beyond. The good news is that with increased funding with the student investment account, we've been able to make key strategic investments in key areas by adding some administrative positions as well. Key hiring we've done over the last month includes the selection of Pal Butte Principal Jared Austin, who you met a moment ago, Centennial High School Athletic Director and Assistant Principal Dante Gouge, whose hiring approval is on the board agenda tonight and will be introduced at a future meeting. Park Lane Assistant Principal Michelle Leichman, whose hiring is on the board agenda tonight as well, and you'll have a chance to meet at a future meeting. And then also Centennial Middle School Interim Principal Nathan Buck, who you'll have a chance to meet at a future meeting. And then Chief Communications Officer Albert Rosales Correa, who was scheduled to be here this evening, but he had a family emergency come up in Texas that called him away, so he needed to leave to do that. So those are positions that had come up toward the end of the year, and we've had a chance to fill. And then I will transition to show you ones that we have yet to complete. So these positions we're still needing to address, and those are the assistant principal for Pal Butte Elementary, for which we had finalist interviews today, and that's backfilling Jared Austin's position because he stepped up into the principalship. Centennial Middle School Assistant Principal position, again to backfill Nathan Buck, who stepped up into the interim position. And then Centennial Virtual Academy, through the budgeting process, we divided out a separate principal position so that Centennial Virtual Academy could have a dedicated support. And so Jenny Lucas, who is currently the Centennial Virtual Academy principal, is still with us. She's just taking on full-time responsibilities in the curriculum department, and she will support whomever is selected for the dedicated principalship at Centennial Virtual Academy. Our plan is to be fully staffed for our administrator positions prior to our administrative pre-service meetings, which are in mid-August. This is a picture of Multnomah Education Service District, also known as as MESD, and that's because on Monday and Tuesday of this week, July 18th and 19th, we had our cabinet retreat at MESD. This was an opportunity to focus our collective energies on district priority areas for the 22-23 school year, as well as to get to know one another, both personally and professionally. And Chief Communications Officer Albert came up from Texas to join us for that. And so it was nice to have him be there in person. Speaking of district priority areas for the upcoming school year, in May and June, I provided the board a high-level information about district priorities in the coming year, with a primary focus on strategic planning combined with the integrated planning process as outlined by the Oregon Department of Education, or ODE. To help support this process, over the last couple of weeks, Director of Curriculum and Student Learning Maureen Callahan, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Tasha Katsuda, and I have met with a handful of consulting agencies to learn more about how we might partner with them in the effort of facilitating our strategic planning process for the coming year. We've narrowed our search down to 2 firms, each of whom would do an excellent job of supporting us with the process. Our next steps involve looking at proposals from each organization and having a follow-up interview with each. Our intention is to have a consultant identified with more information available to share with the board during the board retreat in August. So that's in progress as well. Summer learning is also in full swing and will be coming to a close here, excuse me, at the end of the week. This year's summer learning has run for roughly 3 weeks, from just after the 4th of July on July 5th through this Friday, July 22nd. A more comprehensive update can be provided at a future meeting, but in the meantime, a summary of key information points about this year's summer program is as follows. First, you'll see the summer program vision, and that vision is cultivating joy, connection, and curiosity through well-rounded summer learning. I'll give you a brief overview of the programming per level. And so you'll see the elementary program. The site is at Butler Creek, and it is serving 280 students in grades K through 4 from all elementary buildings. As you might imagine, Butler Creek is not as impacted with bond projects this summer, and so that's why that building was selected as the summer school site. So students from around the district are attending at Butler Creek. The focus areas there are integrated hands-on science, technology, engineering, and math STEM learning through Camp Invention, foundational reading and math practice, SUN enrichment learning for qualifying students, and recovery services for qualifying students receiving special education services. You'll see the middle school programming. I see here the site listed as Centennial Middle School. Pam, is that correct? Do you know if Centennial Middle School is happening at Centennial Middle School? I thought it was the high school. Is that the middle school? Got it. I was wondering because of all the bond construction. Enrollment is serving 90 5th through 7th graders. The focus is on integrated hands-on STEM learning through Camp Invention, foundational reading and math practice, social emotional learning, SUN enrichment learning, recovery service for qualifying students receiving special education services, and functional skills for qualifying students. Finally, the high school programs, and you'll see this is outlined a little bit differently because there's different programming that's happening at the high school level. One program is the 9th grade counts. It has 62 8th graders transitioning to 9th grade, and the focus is on integrated learning experiences, and those are culminating in Friday field trips. So that's been something that's happened in years past, and I believe the kids really enjoy having those Friday field trips and their learning consolidated in those trips. Another is the credit recovery, and that program has 300 students enrolled. And then additional programs are functional skills for qualifying students at Centennial High School, and then Centennial Virtual Academy, continuing initial credit courses for approximately 55 students. So you can see there's programming across the array of elementary, middle, and high school. And since those are happening, I wanted to make sure to provide an update about those. As I shared with the board at the end of June, I'm pleased to announce a tentative agreement on a 3-year contract with the Centennial Education Association, which will carry us through June of 2025. In recent years, Centennial and its employee unions have gained a positive reputation in the region, both for settling contracts before they expire and for doing so in an interest-based manner with interest-based bargaining, known as IBB. We will be bringing forward the tentative agreement for board consideration after both ECBC and CEA membership have had the opportunity to ratify the agreement on their end, which is likely going to be sometime in late August. In the meantime, Dr. Katsuda and I have met with and will continue to meet with CEA bargaining chairs to transform the agreed upon concepts into actual contract language. I want to offer a thank you to all of those who were involved in the bargaining from both CEA and from the district, who are as follows, and you can see a lot of those folks are pictured here. That picture is from our, right after we settled our tentative agreement. And those folks are Avery Hendrickson, who is a co-chair, Joanna Castillo, Ben Peterson, Elizabeth Rufy, Amanda Kassab, Denise Wright, Paul Southerton, Mari Scott-Aguirre, Alicia Brown, Megan Connolly, Marin Miller, Tasha Katsuda, who is a co-chair, Dina Curry, Bruce Shearer, and James Owens, myself, as a co-chair. Special thank you also to Board Director Lynn for his efforts participating on the district bargaining team. I wanted to call that out specifically. On Friday, July 8th, Powell Butte Elementary Principal Jared Austin, who you just met, and I had a chance to meet with Portland City Commissioners Carmen Rubio and Mingus Maps, as well as DPAVE representatives, to share with them the DPAVE project that's been completed and to demonstrate the strengths of community partnerships and city and school district collaboration to help beautify our campuses and also to adapt to climate change through urban regreening. Patrick Lynch Principal Leslie Van Cleek was on hand this past Saturday at Patrick Lynch Elementary as they did a groundbreaking for their DPAVE projects. I will continue to share updates with the board and community on these projects as project milestones are accomplished. As I shared with the board recently, the School Resource Officer Program has been placed on an indefinite pause based on historically low staffing levels in the Gresham Police Force. While this is disappointing, based upon the benefits we have experienced over the years through this collaboration, I'll also say that staffing shortages are no stranger to us in Centennial, and we are understanding of the department's need to streamline their services while Gresham PD works to bolster their force. It's my belief that loss breeds creativity, so in anticipation of this possibility, we've been looking at possibilities to fortify our safety and security stance in Centennial. These include, but are not limited to, enhancing our engagement with the City of Gresham's Youth Services Division, which contracts with local, culturally competent, community-based organizations for outreach, intervention, and youth violence efforts. Exploring possible collaboration with other entities to supplement the information and rapid response elements that will be compromised through the lack of dedicated school resource officer program. Exploring the addition of a dedicated safety and emergency management director position to help strengthen the coordination of our internal security efforts and between the district and local public safety agencies. And also exploring other models for providing safety and security support that have been implemented in other districts around the state, such as Salem and Eugene. Director Southerton, Dr. Katsuda, and I will be meeting within the next week to further discuss these ideas, and I will provide the board with an update once more information is made available. In the meantime, we'll continue to maintain a strong collaborative relationship with the Gresham Police Department, including updating our intergovernmental agreement with them this summer, so that when the time comes that they can again provide support to Centennial, we'll be ready to engage. Finally, it would not be a superintendent's update without a COVID-19 update, and this one is no exception. As you know, we use the CDC levels to determine risk level for community transmission. Since July 1st, Multnomah County has been in the high-risk level. Therefore, masks have been required since July 1st. The CDC levels are updated each Thursday afternoon, We continue to monitor for any changes and will communicate accordingly should the risk level change to moderate or low. Also, this year, the Oregon Department of Education is requiring districts to provide a COVID-19 management plan, which is due in August. Led by Director of Student Services Denise Wright, we will be working with school principals to develop a plan for each site. Once these are developed, information will be shared with the board and the broader community. And this concludes my superintendent's report. I invite any questions or comments that you might have. And Chair Solowski needed to step away for a moment, so I'll go ahead and facilitate any questions or comments you might have. And we've got Director Lynn.
Yes, thank you, Superintendent Owens. Excellent report. Thank you for all the information. And I really like your approach when it comes to the SRO issue. As we've discussed, it's an opportunity for us to look at new alternatives, to focus responsibilities, duties, and money where it can be best be used and utilized to keep people safe and the community safe in an overall sense, and the best utilization of school funds as well. I think we definitely need to continue to discuss issues of accountability and a stronger school board authority when it comes to the intergovernmental agreement with school resource officers. I think it's very important that the board has input and ultimate decision on the appointment authority, and that we ensure responsiveness to our community and to our students and to our families if we field complaints or deal with issues when it comes to the SRO issue. So I hope that we can get an IGA, or if we continue with an IGA in anticipation of a restoration of services, that we can have one that really builds trust and accountability both. So thank you.
Thanks for those remarks. Appreciate that. And I'll make sure to keep you in the loop as far as the IGA development. Claudia.
So a couple of different areas. When you talked about the new staff, are we hiring an HR director?
I had a feeling you would ask about that. I saw you write down when you didn't see that on the thing. So good question. I've been in collaboration with Dr. Katsuda. I think it's no secret to say that our human resources department has been sorely understaffed for quite some time, and there are a variety of different resource opportunities there. One of which is to provide more direct support to the clerical staff who is there, the secretary support, the executive assistant, and that's already been in the works prior to the board authorizing additional funds for an HR support position. Dr. Katsuda and I have had some conversation around making sure that we have the scope of responsibilities properly identified in terms of what we want that individual to be doing, and have that position ranged so that it's at an appropriate placement in terms of compensation and levels of responsibility. So those aspects are in the works. I can allow Dr. Katsuda maybe to offer any more comments that she might have as far as the approach here. But just know that what we've been working on is getting some of those key administrative positions that we know that we need to do kind of out and done, and then spend the time that we need to outline the job description in the way that we'd like, so that it's solid. Dr. Katsuda, can you offer any more there? You want to use your mic.
No, I would concur. We're spending time really thinking and being thoughtful about the position and how that position complements existing positions. So that's all in process, and I hope and anticipate we'll have it posted, and cross our fingers, have someone selected close to the start of the school year.
Good question. Thank you.
And then on the SRO program, which I'm a little more passionate about, although I'm very passionate about the HR position as well. So I am just on top of making sure that students and staff feel safe in our schools. Have you had any feedback from staff about the pause in the SRO program, and do they have any concerns?
I have not had any feedback from staff as far as the SRO program is concerned. I will offer that when we were having some security and threat issues in the spring, I had some staff engagement and staff reach out to me with concerns that they were having relative to just overall safety and security as it pertained to a variety of things that were happening, nationally and not just here in Centennial. So I offer that to say is there's an overall heightened level of just school safety and security as it exists on the whole, but then specifically as it pertains to Centennial. I haven't heard feedback from staff on this issue yet, but I can only imagine that people have strong feelings and probably strong feelings across the range of different opinions on this topic.
So it might be nice to get a committee of staff and students and perhaps board members or administration or others who could provide feedback on all the different things that you have talked about for possible implementation.
Great suggestion. Thank you. We'll take a look at that. And when Dr. Katsuda, Director Southerton, and I meet, we'll incorporate that element into our conversation. All right, we've got Director Solowski, or excuse me, Chair Solowski still stepped away. So if there are any other comments or questions? Director Shields, are you here?
Yes, I am. I'm not sure if you can hear me
Yeah.
or not.
As the ranking board member,
Okay.
would you be willing to take the meeting from here?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Were there any other questions with regard to the report that we've heard? Then let's continue on with the list of reports. And it looks like we're having our quarterly bond report. And I do believe Scott is in the room. We just need to give Mr. Rose to unmute your mic and give us our update, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let me share the presentation here. Just a moment. Looks like I've got share screen capability here. All right. Can you see the package? Great. Okay. So, yes, this is our quarterly report. There's a lot that happens each quarter, so I'm not sure. Sometimes I tend to summarize a little too much. So if there's something like, oh, I didn't know we were doing that, please just kind of make me pause, and I'm happy to explain, because there's a lot of work going on. This is just an example of early renderings in the design phase and where we're at as of, I think these photos were last Friday. The library at Oliver is furnished now. They've got just a couple pieces left to do in terms of some glass and some cove base down at the bottom. The gymnasium projects are all out of the ground. We had some struggles with Powell Butte because we found 2 septic tanks inconveniently located right where we wanted to put the gym. So that took us a little while to get those properly disposed of before we could continue on with our building work. But the site superintendent there is very aggressive, and he's catching up with the other sites. There's kind of an advantage to having 3 foremen under a site superintendent, that there's a bit of healthy competition. So that's good. So hopefully they'll drive each other to success. So I tried a little bit different format that seems to be working well with kind of our administrative team and some of our in-house folks, is just a single snapshot of the work that's happening this summer. And this is specific to bond work. There's a few other projects that Director Southerton and I are working on for some exterior painting and such, but this is the bond work. And what we've identified is the work that's happening and what site it's happening at and the percentage of completion. And so some of these might be at a very low percent. For instance, Butler Creek on the roofing, that's just some gutter work at about $26,000. So it's not a big job. So they've kind of pushed that one off to later in the summer. But other work is happening at a more rapid rate. And these percentages were as of last Friday, so everything's continuing to progress
Scott,
at a very
your,
rapid pace.
Scott, your slides aren't changing. We're still on the front slide.
Oh, my apologies. Okay, I must have been going to the other screen. I'll do this instead. How about that? Can you see that?
Perfect. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, I went to presentation mode and it kicked it to the other screen. So a number of percentages complete as we go through these items. Some items I do want to highlight is lighting replacement in multiple schools. That will continue through September. Intercoms will get done this summer. Fire alarms will continue through September. And some of these dates that are September and October are really related to material delivery issues.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. You see
No
that
worries.
on the bottom there, it has like the little scale that shows on the bottom right, it shows the percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Can you make it bigger? Because what we're seeing is not like the presentation, we're seeing like the presenter view. So yeah, if you could make it a little bit bigger than that, actually, that would be like, give it a couple more clicks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That'd be great. How about that? Is that bigger there? Or
One more.
does that work?
One more.
Okay, one more. Great.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, I put it on presentation and went to the other screen. So we'll try this. So you'll see some of these dates here, September, October, September. So again, a lot of that is because we are either waiting on, in a couple of cases, some permits to process, but in most cases, it's materials. It's material delays, which we hear a lot about in the construction market right now. But you have all this work under contract, a lot of work happening. You can see where you have some of these sites, for instance, Pleasant Valley. There are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 projects going on at Pleasant Valley. So there's a lot of work happening at a lot of different sites, and it's exciting work. And there are some compromises, as Superintendent Owens mentioned earlier. There's some inconvenience, but the end result is going to be fantastic for folks. A couple I know high visibility projects are the tennis courts. You know, we finished paving those in the fall, but we didn't get to surface them because it's a very finicky weather project. As of this moment tonight, 3 of the 6 courts are fully striped with the nets reinstalled and all the red and blue surfacing on them. The other 3 courts will be finished in the morning, so they'll be striped and have the nets up. We're doing a completion inspection at 1 o'clock tomorrow. So we did spend all last week checking for standing water. And the general sort of rule of thumb how you check for standing water is you flood the court, you wait 1 hour, and then you take a nickel out. You put a nickel in the middle of the pond. If the nickel goes underwater, the pond's too deep. And we just went through that. So Monday we had 20 ponds. Friday we had 4. Monday we went down to 0. So they just kept filling and doing the repairs, and then we kept testing it. So we did 5 flood tests on your tennis courts before we decided to do any of the surfacing. So exciting things. Pool repairs, we're doing the waterproofing right now. We plan to start the tile installation the 1st of August. So a lot of exciting things going on. My apologies here. Let me run this up. So budget summary. Here, we'll go this round. So budget summary. My apologies. It's formatting is not quite working here. So we have budgets that are encumbered, or excuse me, we have overall budgets, the amount encumbered and the projected to be spent. And so looking down at the bottom line here, so we have a budget of over 76 million. We have encumbered contracts for over $67 million. We have about 8.9 still left uncommitted, but we have about $4 million in contract negotiations for change pricing or additional scope. And so I don't want to give you the impression that we have $8.9 million to spend. We have something less than that. Right now in your bond program contingency, you have about $4.9 million. I'm projecting we have about $4 million in contract change negotiation. So really we should be left with the amount that we have in the bond program contingency, but we won't really be out of high risk categories until probably, I'm going to say October, November. By then we will have so much of the work done, and the few projects that aren't done, they're going to be out of the risk factors. We'll be able to really assess how much money do we have left over and what are the other things that we can do with that money. And grant summary. These are, this is exciting news. So grant summary. So we have received to date or been committed to, maybe not have yet gotten the check, $280,000 in grants. They have allowed us to spend up to $1.2 million in Senate Bill 1149 monies, which you have, but you need authorization to spend. You only have about $900,000 currently in Senate Bill 1149 monies. So you can spend all of the monies that you have. They've allowed this much, and you have about 900,000. We also have 2 seismic rehabilitation grants, Pleasant Valley, that you know about, that we're doing the work right now, and Powell Butte seismic at $2.5 million that we were just awarded last month. So very exciting. One other grant that is not on here is Centennial High School controls. I just got that information late yesterday, and we are getting $109,000 for the controls, mechanical controls at Centennial High School. So this 280 will go up to about 389. So that's very exciting for grants. And then also we do a locals report each quarter, just to share with you how much money is going where. So when we say within 5 miles of the district office, so we do a measurement within 5 miles of the DO and determine what companies actually have a business within 5 miles of your district office. And so all of these companies have received work that is totaling almost $5.5 million of your $52.1 million worth of construction contracts. So over 10%. And that's really hard to do in your community that's primarily sort of a bedroom community. A lot of the businesses outside the district. And so that's really exciting to see. A lot of them have been really small projects that we've been able to leverage with those that have insurance limits. And going down to the next one as well. So when we go out 20 miles from the district office, we get a lot more entities, because now you're starting to get into some of the Vancouver and Portland areas. You're not getting as far out, say, as Beaverton, but you're starting to get a lot of the other players. And you can see there that over half of your dollars are being spent within 20 miles of the district. So that's great news. And then lastly, if we go out 30 miles, so you're picking up sort of Beaverton and Hillsborough kind of thing, is 3 out of every $4 are being spent within 30 miles of the district office. And that's really powerful as you're talking to your community about, hey, we're trying to keep dollars as local as possible. These aren't being farmed out far and away. So I think that's a really powerful message that's really good for you to be able to share with your community. And then we do have some job photos. I just put in some random ones here. This is the pool. We took out most of the floor as we're replacing all the plumbing, all of your gutter. This was them actually putting back the concrete, and they were starting the waterproofing. The waterproofing will be done this coming Monday. We'll let it cure. We're actually refilling the pool next Friday, the 29th. We're going to refill it and test our waterproofing and make sure the waterproofing holds. Then we'll drain it and start the tile work. So very exciting times. Pleasant Valley, got the seismic work that's taking place. They've removed a lot of the brick. We've been having some permit challenges. We continue to reach out to City of Gresham to find ways to navigate that. It's just been difficult with their staffing. They're very short on structural reviewers, and they had structural reviewers that are out sick. And so, so we're just challenged trying to do as much as we can with the grace of the city until they grant us that permit. And this board approved 2 months ago replacing the siding on the 2-story wing at Centennial Middle School. And so this is what that'll look like. This is the exact same siding that we're putting at the 4 new gymnasiums. So you'll start to create this architectural language around your district and be very identifiable. And so this is a metal siding with a Kynar finish with a 40-year warranty on the finish. So we're also coming up to completion on the media center at CMS. We are going to be getting the flooring this Saturday, so we'll start installing that. We have all the new furniture at CMS for all the science labs in the media center. It was delivered Monday, and as soon as this flooring gets done, we'll start moving it into the media center. Right now, it's just hanging out in the hallway. So very exciting there. Oliver, locker rooms. These have been used as storage rooms for about 20 years. They were originally locker rooms, but they were decommissioned. And so we've been replacing fixtures. Adding lockers. The lockers have been torn out years ago. Doing new finishes, new lighting, etc., and making these locker rooms available for the middle school program. Also, the city has required us to build 5 trash enclosures around the district, just as part of their new code criteria, new site planning criteria. So these trash enclosures will be where your dumpsters will roll into, as opposed to being out by parents and students. So they'll be hidden behind these enclosures. Right now, this particular one, again, it was just Friday. They've already welded up the structure and put on the roof. So they're moving really, really fast, and poured the slab. So they've done a lot in just a short period of time. It's also important to note at Oliver that we've started to receive furnishings. We will have 3 semis of furniture arriving starting at 7 a.m. tomorrow. We'll have 2 more semis on Friday morning. We'll have a final semi on Monday. So we got 6 semi trucks coming with furniture just to fill in Oliver. And then as soon as we have spaces done in Oliver, start moving them to the different rooms. The cafeteria becomes a staging area. So wonderful things there. The gymnasiums, as I mentioned before, Meadows, we have the trusses on. They've started to actually put the roof deck on. And then this is Park Lane. It's important to note that PNC Construction is not just building your 4 gymnasiums, but they're also abating all your common area floors and grinding and polishing that concrete. And they're also doing all your roof repairs at Patrick Litch, Powell Butte, Meadows, and Park Lane. And this is the Park Lane cafeteria floor after it was fully abated. Then they ground and polished that floor. So all that old asbestos tile is gone, and your cafeteria is going to have a new life. We're also doing a number of projects replacing lighting, fire alarm systems, intercom systems, a variety of things, and getting everybody to play well in the same sandbox. And then just lastly, just again, Patrick Lynch Gymnasium, and even Powell Butte is, like I said, catching up. That site foreman is catching up with the other sites. He got kind of a late start because of the septic tanks, and he's really come on strong here the last month. So with that, questions that you might have.
Rose, did we ask questions?
Yes. Ooh, big apologies. David, I saw you first, and then Jeff.
Thank you. Just really quick, a comment. I think it's really important. I love to see the progress on the pool project. I don't know if people realize the incredible need for pools in East Portland. East Portland Community Center is shut down for open play swim and for school swim lessons. So for many people in our district, there is no open pool within 100 blocks. So I think it just shows how really a need we have in this community for the pool. And so I love to see the progress. Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up and say it's great to see the progress. Thanks again for the update. When it comes to priorities below the line, when is the time that we need to start making those decisions?
I would recommend that we have a healthy dialogue in the fall. I would say, as I mentioned, I think October, we're going to have a lot of the risks behind us and have a much better sense of how much money is left. I know that Director Southerton is going to talk a little bit about the long-range planning effort that's going to be underway, and that will help to prioritize some projects. Some of them will just be in your next bond. Some may be things that you slowly sort of chew off with your general fund or other opportunity funds. But if there's things that you say, as you go through that planning process, say, you know what, this is really important. I don't think it can wait. And our normal maybe general fund can't handle it. We need to look at something else. That might be great, a great candidate for utilizing the remaining bond dollars. But there's not a requirement to quickly spend those. I know you've got lots of projects, but you are required to spend at least 85% of your bond funds by September of 23, and you will well exceed that. You'll be over 90% by then. In fact, you'll have most of the projects that we even know about all by, say, spring break next year. So there might be a little bit of touch up here and there, but so we're really going to be ahead of what our requirements are. But yeah, I think it would be a good, healthy conversation to have probably in this in the October timeframe about what projects do we think we want to do. I mean, if there's sort of light design, light engineering, an October discussion can certainly get it let for bid in March. If it's more complex project, then it might need to take longer before it actually gets bid out. But most contractors have been very agreeable to working in the evenings and cleaning up after themselves and that kind of thing. So I don't think we want to necessarily limit ourselves just to summer. In fact, most of your projects haven't been able to be limited to just summer because they've been so extensive in their work. So.
Great. Kind of following up on that, do you see any of the projects causing challenges at the facilities when students do begin back in school in September?
You know, we've had some of those conversations. I would say that the one that'll be probably the biggest challenge is the Pleasant Valley seismic work. And how do we continue to do that work in September, October, November when kids come back? Because we've really tore up a lot and we need to get that back together before kids come back, and actually well before kids come back, so that all the cleaning can be done and teachers can remobilize and they don't feel like they're scrambling, but they're able to get back in a very measured way. PNC's work on your floors is going to be done in 2 weeks. I don't see any concerns there. The work on the roofs is going to be done in 3 weeks, so no problems there. We are replacing fire alarm systems in 5 schools, and I suspect that 3 of those will take into the fall just because we're waiting on the master panel, but we're leaving the existing fire alarm systems up. So when we make the swap over, it'll be on a Saturday or something and it'll be done. So I really don't see any impacts there. Intercoms will be done before school starts, and that's really good for communication between classrooms and front offices. So as I'm just kind of thinking through it in my head, I would say that if I was going to identify sort of one as impactful when the day kids come back, it's going to be Pleasant Valley seismic work and just how we mitigate that. And I've reached out to the city of Gresham today and asked them, hey, can you meet with Director Southerton and I to really talk about what are some options we have here? Can we do courtesy inspections? Can we do third-party inspections to allow us to keep going and start putting the building back together? So, but I would say of all of them, probably Pleasant Valley seismic, but we're strategizing now, not Labor Day, about how we're going to get that done. So.
Great. Thank you for the insight and the update.
Director Shields.
Just wanted to commend you on the report of how we are doing with local contractors and the percentage of use. I think that's incredibly important. And I would add that for maybe our communications person, our new one that will be coming in, not only do we want to communicate this to our district and our parents and staff, but the unions who supported the bond. When we said that this was our goal, let's tell our unions, very specifically, maybe in a meeting or whatever, what we've done and how we've been doing. So I just like to add that to another maybe thing to do or to communicate out there. Thank you.
Absolutely. When your communications person comes back, I've promised them a tour around the district, some of the projects. So as soon as they get back, we'll set that time.
Any other questions? Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I think there's a couple other reports that Director Southerton has, and so I'll stay on if there's questions regarding those reports.
Next up, we've got a medication administration report. Would you like to introduce your staff? Oh.
Great. Thank you, Chair Solowski. So I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Director Wright as well as Director Southerton for the medication administration report. This report comes from a couple of things here, and I'll let Denise speak to this specifically, but around the increasing prevalence of fentanyl in particular in our area and in our nation. And I think that this creates more of an urgency around the potential for student overdose and things of that sort. And so I will go ahead, once they get the technology kind of work through. I'll let Director Wright and Director Southerton go ahead and take it away. They prepared a presentation for us on this. And then you'll see later in the agenda in new business, a policy related to this that has some updates related to what they'll describe for the board's consideration. You don't need to take action on that tonight unless it seems like something you'd like to. So Director Wright, are you good to go? Okay.
Good evening, board. We are here this evening because we want to bring a reconsideration of an update for the medications policy, as Superintendent Owens shared. And Senate Bill 665, which went into effect January 2020, amended previous Oregon rules and directed the Oregon Department of Education to undertake rule taking to permit schools to adopt rules to allow trained school personnel to administer naloxone or Narcan, or similar medications, if a student or an individual overdoses on opiates at school, on school properties, or school-sponsored activities. In August of 2020, the Centennial School Board adopted this policy without this option, which was an option for districts to choose to adopt it or not. And part of the reason for the board not adopting it at that time was locally the processes for securing the medication and training and all of those pieces weren't in place yet at the county level. And so we would like to bring some updates to you all to help inform decisions when we come to the policy later today. As you can see, after hearing this presentation, you will be able to increase your understanding of the concerns regarding the fentanyl and opioid issues that are in Oregon right now. And you'll also be provided information about current options for school districts and steps that can be taken. As you can see, fentanyl has become the leading cause of death due to drugs in Oregon over the last 2.5 years. Drug overdose deaths have more than doubled between 2019 and 2021. There were 496 deaths in 2019, and there were 1,072 deaths in 2021. Those are all drug-related deaths in Oregon. 71 of those in 2019 and 509 in 2021 were fentanyl-specific drug deaths. That's 47.5% of all overdose deaths in 2021 were connected to fentanyl. And you can see that has increased from in 2020, there were only 32 deaths, and in 2019, there were 14% of the deaths connected with fentanyl. It is a synthetic opioid that's estimated to be about 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine, and it is available in all communities in Oregon. So I'm not going to be able to pronounce this very well, but naloxone or Narcan is an opiate antagonist that will temporarily reverse deadly respiration depression experienced during an overdose. It is available in multiple forms, either through intramuscular or subcutaneous. There's a spray that you can use. It can immediately restore breathing to a victim who's experiencing an overdose. If mistakenly given to someone who's not actually having an opioid overdose, it will not harm them. There's no potential addiction or other misuse for this drug, and it should be and can be considered a part of an emergency protocol that school staff could quickly administer to prevent an overdose. So similar to our schools having EpiPens on site for individuals who may have an unknown allergy, this is a very similar tool that could be added to our toolkits on school sites. And so as a school district, what actions can we take given that there is concern about the rise in the community? There is a policy that allows for school districts to add this piece. One thing is for us to consider updating the policy, which would include being able to administer this on site. If we were to do that, we would want to collaborate with the Multnomah County Educational Service District and Multnomah County Public Health regarding the purchasing, accessing, training, and additional processes we would want to have in place. We would also want to provide information to students, to families, and staff regarding this, and we really want to focus on prevention. Part of it is that we don't want to wait until something drastic happens. We really want to help to inform students and families what their options are. And last spring, between the Oregon Department of Education and other school districts, there was information that was sent to the schools to help support additional information for students around prevention. And so that was received really well. I know at least at the high school, they had shared that students really were appreciative of having information that really helped them. And then we would want to continue to partner with community organizations that are really supporting alcohol and drug prevention. Currently, we have a strong partnership with Northwest Family Services, and they provide drug and alcohol prevention services at Centennial Middle School and Centennial High School also. We do have several resources that we would be able to use and support at the school levels, as well as being able to share with families. And then it's brief, but we're hoping that you have additional information and then have a clear idea of where we can go next, if that is where you would like to go. And Paul Southerton and myself are open for any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Claudia, Director Andrews, please.
So, as I understand from your presentation, after we approve the policy, then the details get worked out? I guess my question is, do you know now who would be trained to administer this, or is that something that is decided after the policy is approved?
Right. There are a couple steps that we can take. So fortunately, Portland Public and David Douglas have already been going through this process through the spring. And so they've worked out a lot of the details with the county and with the MESD. And so there is already on site at the county, there is a countywide prescription that allows school districts to have access to the medication. We have school nurses who are available to do the trainings, and then school nurses and the school health assistants would be one layer of individuals who would be trained, and then as a school district, we would decide additionally who that could include. So traditionally, when I use the EpiPen example, often we train administrators, school secretaries, kind of who are the staff that would be around and have quick access to medication and to students. And so for us, we would just need to narrow down which individuals we would train, and then we would work with the nursing staff during that pre-service early in September to get them trained. And I think Paul probably has additional information also in regards to kind of the parameters of who we want to think about for staff to train.
Thank you, Director Wright. So as Director Wright touched on, there's key personnel within each building that this falls into their scope of responsibilities. Think nurses, think student health assistants, administrators, secretaries, etc. Those are the folks that help administer medications on a regular basis already, if they're brought by parents or if they're brought into schools, and then the EpiPen example that Director Wright used. So it would be key personnel, and we would want to make sure that they had the appropriate training and be set up for success, and then we would communicate that out. But it is a limited set of folks that would have access to medication, as is our standard practice.
Would this be available at all schools?
At the discretion of the board, right? We would be looking for your direction. The intent is largely that it would be available at all our schools, although we think the utilization or need for it may depend on the level of school.
And currently, most districts are starting with middle and high school to ensure that they have trained staff and thinking about who potentially might be engaging with medications or accidentally overdosing. Those are the target populations. And again, to Director Southerton's, if there was direction from the board that you would like this to be available at all of our sites, that would be a piece we would work with the county to ensure that could happen.
Thank you very much. Next up, we've got Director Harden, followed by Director Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you for the stats on Oregon statewide, the challenges with the fentanyl. Is there any measurable data that we have within our community or within our district on how many instances we would have needed to use this?
I do not have that information at the ready. I could see if I could work with the county to get that. When I had spoken with Jamie Smith, who is our contact at MESD, one piece he has shared is the incidence of students actually overdosing on school premises is really, 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 really low. And if at any point any one of our students, that would be one too many. And so that's one of the balances. But I can find out from the county if they have statistics down to kind of zip codes and areas.
That'd be great. Thank you. And my next question is it's a comment. If we do proceed and we have this in our high schools and middle schools, I would encourage us to have it at our community events, big, larger gatherings that we have with the community, because there is the potential for something going wrong at one of those events as well. Not just 9 to 5, Monday through Friday or 7 to 4 at the buildings. But that kind of adds another layer because we need to have the trained personnel available and the medicine available at those events.
Thank you for that, Director Harden. The policy allows for that school-sponsored activity, and I appreciate you pointing out ensuring trained personnel for that piece, because that would be something we definitely want to think about.
Director Lynn, and then Director Shields.
Yes, thank you, Chair Solowski. I think this is really important. I want to thank Superintendent Owens for bringing this forward. I brought this up. I worked with the Board of Pharmacy over 5 years ago, getting the naloxone rules passed. I think it is incredibly important that we start removing the stigma around these types of things. It's a life-saving measure that, again, is kind of like an EpiPen or a defibrillator or like basic CPR and first aid. I think all staff should be trained on how to use this. I don't think it should be limited to anyone who with a certain scope, because again, it's a life-saving treatment. And in that life-saving moment, people can't start just saying, well, I'm not the one trained, get somebody else. So again, I think it's really important that we're removing the stigma around this type of thing. And we're recognizing that it is in our community. My alma mater, McDaniel School, had 2 students last year pass away. It was very tragic to the community. So, any regular person off the street can go into any pharmacy and get a prescription for naloxone if they simply think somebody in their family could be at risk of opioid overdose. So if people just off the street can do this, our staff should be able to do this. And so I really look forward to educating the staff and dispelling, the myths that a lot of people have on some of this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Shields, and then Vice Chair Fuller.
Not to disagree with Director Lynn, but liability, and maybe this is something we'll be talking about when we actually entertain the new business item with the policy. You never know. We have a litigious society, to say the very least about us. And so if we had this in the hands of untrained personnel being utilized, what kind of liability might that place the district in, a staff member in, et cetera? It's just something that, again, along all the other things that we would consider, let's make sure we're clear about that. Thank you.
I wasn't sure there was a question, but in regards to liability, we have researched that our insurance carrier would cover us if it was in the scope of the person's duties to administer the medication. So that's where we would want to probably pilot the program. Now, that being said, there are no known side effects against misadministering the medication. So if it was administered by a person, as Director Lynn proposed to anybody in the school district, proposed it, they wouldn't necessarily be covered by our insurance because it might not be in the scope of their regular duties. However, we would cover them as a district, so there would be no personal liability for that staff member, and the district's liability would be minimal because at this point in time, although I'm not a medical professional, the medical evidence at this point has demonstrated there's no side effects or no consequences to administering to someone who is not experiencing an opioid crisis or overdose. So the damages, theoretically, i.e. the liability, would be minimal to the district.
Thank you so much. Vice Chair Fuller.
Thank you, Chair Solosky. I wanted to make sure that I think what Director Lynn was saying that is that we're hoping to make sure that everyone is trained on this issue so we won't have that problem in terms of liability issues. And I think that just like the first aid trainings, I too believe that this training should be available to everyone as well too, just because of the huge influx of what's going on. Like, we can't shy away from it anymore. It's in our communities. It is harming a lot of our students that have it in their families, and so I think it's important to make sure that, yes, we have it at our events, especially, as well as making sure that we look at all of our staff so they are adequately equipped, and there is no fallback, no lack of information, no education, and then we also don't have that issue with the liability as well too.
Thank you, Vice Chair Fuller. Are there any other comments or questions at this time?
Just really quick, just to add on to the conversation, it is covered by Oregon's Good Samaritan law. I'm no lawyer, and if I was one, I wouldn't tell you anything is a sure thing when it comes to liability, but it is covered under that in terms of any criminal prosecution. So yeah, I'd love to see more about it.
Thank you so much, Director Lynn. And thank you, Director Southerton and Director Wright, for that fantastic presentation. All right, next up for our reports, we welcome CEA President Amanda Kassab to share a CEA update report. There you are, welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I am currently in Bend at the Oregon Educator Association Summer Conference, where many members come together and receive training from OEA and also talk about what's going on in our district and get ideas from each other about how we can work together and share successes. So just today, I was sharing our successful bargain that just completed that Superintendent Owens mentioned earlier. We are feeling really good about the agreements that we all came to, and we're looking forward to ratifying it in the September when we come back. Other than that, it's a very short update because it's summer. So I appreciate the time and would ask if anybody has any questions.
Vice Chair Fuller.
No questions. Just wanted to say welcome aboard, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Me too.
Director Lynn.
Oh, thank you. I just also wanted to say welcome. And, there's several issues we're discussing tonight, just naloxone, as we were discussing. And we are always, I know all the board members are seeking input from staff and the union on all these issues. So we'd love to hear from you and hear from teachers' perspectives on this stuff.
Thank you. I would really like to ask a newbie question, if I may. how do we talk? Is it only at board meetings, or how does communication work?
That's a great question. And I would, um, I'm new to here, so I do believe that I would love to hear if anybody else has anything to say, but I encourage more communication than just at the board meeting if that's acceptable.
You are more than welcome to reach out to any of us with through our emails. I know that I can give my email and send it out as well too. So, but yeah, would love to hear from you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're really looking forward to some strong communication and working together. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your conference in Bend.
Thank you.
Next up, we welcome OSEA President Chris Dowell to share an OSEA update. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I suppose that's the first part of my message, is that in the spring we had some elections. And so as of July 1st, I am the president of OSEA. And currently we have an opening for our VP, the vacancy from the spot that I held before. Lyndall Preble is still our secretary. And then we have a new treasurer, Jennifer Sheets, which will we should get her sworn in by the end of the month, which really kind of ends this huge tenure by Vicki Nelson and Mitzi Hurt. They have been OSEA leaders for a very long time, and we are so appreciative of their leadership and are kind of looking forward to the next phases. Our new board will meet later this month to kind of come up with our plan for reorganization. We have a lot of new faces at OSEA, and so we're looking forward to kind of reorganizing and really coming up with how we can support our members, and as well as coming up with what seems to be a good working relationship with our employer, the district. I want to spend part of this time to highlight the work that is happening this summer. We have our members are making our kids food, they're bringing our kids to school, and we have EAs in summer school. I was able to stop by Butler Creek earlier this week to see summer school in full action, and I have to say, like, nothing warms your heart more than a kid happy in summer, like participating in school. They were happy to be there. And then I love the admin's goal to have their positions filled by pre-service. We mirror the idea of, we would love to have all of our positions filled by the start of school. Our members have been very clear they cannot repeat last year. We need a fully staffed Centennial staff. And so are looking forward to whatever work we need to do between now and September to have that happen. Our students are best supported when we as classified staff are fully staffed. We are the members that work the closest with our kids. And I feel like we really need to pay a lot of attention to make sure that those positions get filled. Again, happy summer and looking forward to the work to come.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on your presidency. Director Fuller.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Director Slowski, congratulations on your presidency, and I look forward to working with you at this capacity.
Excellent. At this point in time, I believe should we go ahead and take a 5-minute break before we get to confirmation items? Excellent. 5-minute break. All right, everybody, it has been about 5 minutes. We're going to go ahead and call it back to order. We'll give everybody a chance to show up on the screen before we move into confirmation items. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again. At this point, we're going to go over the confirmation items en masse. First off, were there any questions about any of these before we move on? Great. So at this point, I would look for a motion to confirm these items en masse.
I motion to confirm these items en masse.
Second.
Excellent. It's been moved and seconded that we confirm these items en masse. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Opposed? Excellent. It is a unanimous decision. The confirmation items have all been approved. Next, we move on to board action items, old business 7.1.1, and we come to the award of the CHS Sports Complex Improvements Contract. And I would welcome Director Southerton up to the microphone.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to present this item. So the administration is recommending the approval of the contract award to Robertson Engineering for the design, engineering, and construction management services for the all-weather multi-sport field, parking, and stadium seismic improvements that were approved by the board in June or last month. Their fee for this is $357,948. You may recall we had many designers express interest in this program and doing the master plan and design fees. However, we only received 3 submissions. They were from Cardno, HHPR, and Robertson's. Athletic coaches and staff and the administration unanimously selected Robertson Engineering, who had the most relevant experience. It should also be noted that principal at Robertson Engineering is familiar with the CHS site and did work for us on 2005. Robertson was awarded the design for the Centennial School District Sports Complex Master Plan and has spent 3 months engaging with stakeholders, including athletic coaches, resulting in the final master plan proposed concept that the board approved last month. Upon approval of the Phase 1 projects from the board last month, Robertson was asked to provide us for this fee to implement Phase 1 projects for the design process and construction management. And it is recommended that the Board of Directors approve the award of the design of engineering and construction management services contract to Robertson Engineering at a fee of $357,948. I welcome any questions you may have.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from board members? Comments? Excellent. Well, then let's consider we need a motion to approve. Would it be to Robertson awarding the CHS Sports Complex improvements contracts to Robertson?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we award the CHS Sports Complex improvement contract to Robertson. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Excellent. The ayes have it. The motion has been adopted. The award of the CHS Sports Complex will be going to Robertson. Next up is also Director Southerton talking about bond contingency funds for our track.
Great. Thank you, Chair Slafsky. So it was requested by the board that we engage with the Bond Oversight Committee to consider the inclusion of resurfacing the Centennial High School track as an approved bond project. You may recall that the tracks at Centennial Middle School and Oliver School were approved bond projects and were completed successfully last year. Although not included in the original list of approved bond projects due to budget projections, the Centennial High School track was also identified as needing to be resurfaced at that time. This track is used frequently by community members, Centennial academic programming such as physical education classes, as well as high school athletics. The track at Centennial High School was last resurfaced in 2007 by Benyon Sports. The track has been well used over the last 15 years and is approximately 3 years beyond its anticipated useful life, which averages 10 to 12 years for these track surfaces. There is visible thinning and cracking in multiple areas and multiple tears on the east and west straightaways. Additionally, there's separation at the 100-meter line starting area. There's currently no tripping hazards or lifting hazards, but we do continue to maintain the track, but it is in deep need of repair. The estimated cost of resurfacing the high school track is $650,000. However, we do have an opportunity to save some funding on that, or save some cost, mobilization cost and contracting cost, by including this as part of the other improvements we plan for that area over the next 12 to 18 months. Including the track resurfacing as an approved bond project is consistent with other bond projects and supports the quality of facilities for our middle schools and our high school programs, and could be done with the other investments, resulting in a cost savings. The administration has consulted with the Bond Oversight Committee, which monitors the bond projects completed by the district, ensures compliance with ballot language and promises, and provides consultations and recommendations on the addition of approved bond project. The administration has received support from the committee for approval of including the resurfacing of the high school track as an approved bond project and is making the request. The administration recommends the Board of Directors approve including resurfacing of the Centennial High School track as an approved bond project and authorize the creation of a budget of $600,000 with funds from the overall bond contingency fund. If approved by the school board, the remaining overall bond contingency project funds will be $4,342,914 after the funding of this project. And I welcome any questions you may have.
Are there any questions at this time? I have one.
I'll make a motion to adopt the, or to pass the CHS.
Director Lynn, I actually did have a question. I was just waiting to see if anybody did first. You had originally said that the cost was going to be $650,000, and then later on you said $600,000. Is that $50,000 what we would be saving by lumping it in with the current projects?
Correct. Great question, Chair Solowski. So there's an opportunity to save on mobilization costs, as well as including it as part of the larger projects to get economy of scales with our contractors. So it's estimated that savings will be around $50,000.
Thank you very much. You go ahead, David, or Director Lynn, excuse me.
Thank you, and I apologize for jumping the gun, Chair Solowski. I would make a motion to pass the CHS track remodel as part of the bond project.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. The ayes have it. We have approved bond contingency funds for the CHS track.
Thank you.
So exciting. Thank you. Moving on to new business. Next, we come to board officer elections. And having not necessarily been through this process before, may I ask a question? Do we do vice chair or chair first? Or is both at the same time? How have we done that in the past? Chair first? Great. At this point, we'll accept any nominations for chair.
I'd like to nominate Rose Solowski for chair of the Centennial School Board.
Second. Wait, is there a second?
Director Shields, do you have a nomination?
Sorry, I'm trying to run different systems. I apologize. Does the current chair and nominee accept, because that is one of the processes as well. You just don't say it and say, ha ha, it's due. So just clarifying that part.
Really appreciate that, Director Shields. I do accept the nomination. Are there any other nominations that we can consider today for chair? Hearing none. At this point, do we take a vote? All those in favor of Chair Solowski continuing to be the chair for the next school year? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Next up, I would like to hear, or yes, it has been approved that I will be chair for the upcoming school year as well. Thank you. Next up, we'll do vice chair nominations. Is there anyone with a nomination for vice chair?
I'd nominate Vice Chair Fuller, if you'd like to continue.
Vice Chair Fuller, would you accept the nomination?
I accept the nomination.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair that we should consider at this time? Director Shields.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, thank you for my patience there. So, Vice Chair Fuller, you are now currently working and working even out of state. Is this something that you'll be able to commit to with your new responsibilities, especially in light of, how do I say this, the political reality of the world that we are living in? Maybe enough said about that part of it. Sorry. You know what I mean, right? Okay, thank you.
That is a wonderful, wait, am I on mute? Okay, I'm on mute. Okay. So that is a wonderful question. Yes, I am at this moment in time able to take on this role still continually. I will make sure to be in communication with Rose as well as the board. Right now, the elections, of course, I'm sure, as you know, that's happening. But we will be, after the general election, things will start to die down a little bit. And then, of course, when legislative session happens, I will, of course, let you know about that as well, too. We're only having a handful of events. So, but yes, I will continue to communicate.
Thank you, Vice Chair Fuller. Any other questions or nominations at this point in time? Are we ready to take a vote? Excellent. All those in favor of Vice Chair Fuller continuing in the role as Vice Chair, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Excellent. Erica, did you not vote for yourself? It's unanimous. Excellent. Vice Chair Fuller. Vice Chair Fuller, it will be our vice chair for next year. Director Lynn?
Congratulations to both of you. I had a question. Maybe tonight isn't the right time, but in terms of replacing Keith as on the Legislative Policy Committee, after going to the conference for OSBA, I was very interested in that. And I was also approached by Helen Ying of Loma Educational Service District about the East County Equity Committee and them wanting more than just one person per school district to hopefully represent them. And so they're just so that they can keep capacity. So they approached me about joining that. So I just wanted to see if that was tonight or hopefully soon.
Thank you, Director Lynn. Pam Shields, is it on the same topic? Please, continue.
On that same topic, what we normally have done in the past is looked at the list of duties and responsibilities that are within the district, as well as things that we'd like to participate outside in terms of just managing directors' time. So if we could ask Superintendent Owens and ourselves, what are the things that are going to be going on, and then who's going to plug in where, because this year we will be doing a lot of work, well, finishing the bond, right, for sure, but a lot of work with the new Destination 20, whatever it might be, or whatever the title of it might be as well. And I know that if that past effort took a lot of time outside of board, time. So just an acknowledgement of what we need to do in this probably next year. And also it's a great opportunity for us to describe to us our newest board member that will be with us next month, the myriad of responsibilities that we have and input that we want to participate in. So not one or two people have to carry a larger load than others. So that's just maybe in the retreat or maybe in September, sometime like that. I know Director Lynn wanted to get moving because those people need that information as well.
Yeah. It is on our
I don't
agenda for our retreat in August.
Yeah, so if
we'll
we can do that. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else in regards to elections? Excellent. Let's move on to 7.2.1. We've got a first read with option to approve policy JHCD, JHCDA, and JHCD-AR. Directors Wright and Southerton.
Hello again, board. Some of this information we shared during the report, but we wanted to remind you that the Senate bill gives the district the option to provide and administer naloxone and any other similar medication. It is designed to reverse an overdose of an opiate drug. District plans to provide it. While it's not required, we would have to adjust the language because right now the policy is set. There is bracketed language that pertains to that. And so that is specifically what we're looking at this evening. This is a required policy. We do have it currently adopted without that language.
Thank you. So let's go around the room and I'd just love to hear from each. Thank you. Let's go around the room and I'd love to hear from each director where their thoughts are with this. Starting with Director Lynn.
I spoke most of the comments earlier. I'm a strong proponent. I'm very much in favor of us adopting this policy and then exploring about, again, like I said, how we can bring this to all staff members in a safe and protected way that protects us from liability issues. But I think it's very important that we move on this quickly. So, I mean, I think I would be in favor of adopting it tonight if other people could have any concerns addressed.
Director Harden.
I think I'm just not very well educated on it. And for that reason, I'm not really comfortable on voting on it tonight myself. I think it's something that, as Director Lynn said, it's part of our community, and taking the stigma off of it is very important. And I'm just not very well educated on it myself, and I don't feel comfortable approving something that I'm not educated on.
Thank you very much. Director Andrews.
I'm in favor of approving the policy tonight.
Thank you. Director Shields?
Got it. The only challenge that I would have, and I'm iffy about doing it tonight, but it's the AR, because the AR is the directive that, the policy is the policy, right? And I think that we are in favor. I haven't heard any objections from anybody about the favorability of doing this as policy and having it available and doing the training. That makes all perfect sense to me. So the policy is not as much of a challenge as the AR is to me, because I guess I just still have to have that clarity. I get about Director Lynn's comment about litigation and Director Southerton's, litigation and or liability kinds of issues. That added clarity, and I appreciate that. When I read the AR and I think about not the clarity of expectation, because how do I say this? The expectation was raised that at any time, at any place on the grounds of Centennial School District, we may have somebody available to administer, and that's the way it was implied to me, that we would have somebody available. But how does that work in practical sense? And usually the practical application is in the AR. And I would ask that either one of Director Wright or Director Southerton help me in looking at the AR to say that we have clarity enough at the district level to administer, to broaden the scope of who could administer this. See, I'm really iffy. I don't even know quite what questions to ask. That's my problem.
I'm happy to address some of that, Director Shields. Typically, I appreciated the points that were brought up regarding training for everyone. And often with something like this, there is a level of training around knowledge for staff. One, having staff recognize that there is a need, there are concerns, what symptoms could be, and what our practice is to make sure that a student was connected with someone who had been trained to administer. So there could be two different levels, because working with the MESD around other areas where we're required to train, they help us to identify who's trained, and they have to monitor that because our nurses are the ones who actually conduct the training. So with our medication distribution requirements, not every single teacher is trained to provide that. So if teachers go on a field trip, they need to have that at that moment. Other staff on site are trained to administer prescription medications at that point. So I could see with this policy having kind of two prongs. One, how do we make sure that all staff are aware of the concerns, aware of symptoms, making sure they know processes, and then who are those targeted staff that are identified to administer. And again, leaning on our friends in Portland Public and David Douglas, they have identified, and typically the staff that they're including in the trainings for administration is building administrators, secretary, securities, and then again, nurses and our school health assistants. Those are primary folks that are also trained to administer other medications. EpiPens, they support students with diabetes. They're helping with other medication needs. So those would be the groups that we would typically include. And thinking about activities, if we had a sporting event, if we have a family activity, those would be pieces we'd have to make sure that building administrators, when they're working with the groups planning those, would remember what processes they have in place. Because again, the same thing, if somebody were to have an allergic reaction at a football game, there is an EpiPen on site and there are processes already that we would be able to lean on and use. We wouldn't have to necessarily create a lot of other processes to support this. Any additional pieces?
Thank you, Director Wright.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Fuller, was there anything you'd like to add?
I think that, I agree with Director Lynn, but I also understand the concerns that Director Shields has put up as well too. And so I have no problem with passing it for the first read and maybe figuring out those things, because I think that would be, to make sure that we have that already in place. So going forward, or maybe I'm misunderstanding on how they're doing it, but Director Shields, I know that you also have a question as well too.
May I follow up then with what Director Fuller and Director Wright mentioned? When I'm looking at and again, I'm looking at the AR, I'm not looking at the policy. If you want to pass the policy tonight, boom, we're there, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of the AR, the only thing that's mentioned is in the paginations might not be correct. So I'm looking basically at the second page, number 4, the bracketed material, which you mentioned would be included now, which is naloxone or other similar medication that is in any form available for safe administration. Oh my golly, you got it up on the screen. Thank you. It says may be administered by trained designated personnel to any student or other individual on school premises who the person believes in good faith is experiencing an opioid overdose. So that's a good broad statement, right, about that. But it does say be administered by trained. And that's two things I'm going to want you as a district to tell me that it's fine. Trained parts, I think we should adhere to, and then the other would be just when you said the football game, I get it. The football game has, we have emergency personnel right there, but what about the middle school volleyball game? And now we're asking this of like every coach to do. I just need those questions answered because it feels like other duties as assigned, and a really important one as well. I don't want to raise expectations that we're not going to meet. And maybe this is just a discussion about how implementation works, and it's less of a question about the AR, but it is a question in my mind. And when you guys can get me off of my concerns, right? And again, pass the policy. Fine. AR, gosh, I wish you'd have a little bit more of that in terms of that, how that expectation could be monitored, administered, whatever the case might be. And thank you for listening.
Director Shields, can I clarify? So thinking about that section 4, are you envisioning similar to number 5, that how they have the subsets, they have the A, the B, the C with a little additional information? Is that what you're picturing for 4, that there would be a couple extra specific pieces there that would outline or at least connect to other parts of the AR that might be very similar?
And if I may answer directly back, yes, because look how well we have handled everything else in a medication. But medication, implies a prescription. This is a response to something that we know should be available and we should be responding to because of the crisis across our state and maybe even within our own community. So I totally support that. I just think that we would want a little bit more detail about that and clarity in our own mind about how we're going to staff that. Are we going to add that responsibility to every coach? Are we going to add that responsibility as we look to expand our sports programs to our middle school and even our elementary grade schools, and we're having parents in? Do we talk about that with people who are even our volunteers that work with our students? So I just am wanting more in the AR part of it, because administrative rules are our responsibility. We govern that. Policy oftentimes is governed by legislation, OSBA recommendations, but AR, that's us. That's what we are committing ourselves to. So yes, having more detail like the things that follow, I think would be appropriate.
Thank you, Director Shields. Director Southerton, do you mind putting that back up for just 1 second? I was just briefly noticing there was something about transportation as well. On school and private and transfer to or from a school. So that would mean that transportation personnel would also be, or would it, I guess would it be the coaches? I think that, is there any clarity?
For number 5, that's speaking specifically to an adrenal crisis. So there are different pieces around that we have to provide.
Okay.
And I think you bring up a good question that we would want to think about when it comes to bus drivers potentially.
Yeah.
And our bus drivers, given that they're driving, they're not able to administer something in that situation. And Director Southerton probably could speak to that better than myself.
Thank you, Director Wright. So as proposed with the AR, it's just proposing language essentially mirrors what we had for EpiPens, which is number 3 above. So you'll see there's a lot of similarities with the draft that's been proposed between number 3 and number 4, right? Which is the designate for naloxone or Narcan. What I'm hearing from others is that there would like to be maybe some additional build out in the AR similar to number 5, but not necessarily mirroring number 5, just similar building out a definition of folks who will be specifically trained.
Director Andrews.
When you presented this a while ago, that's why I asked about, does the policy come first? And I think I heard both of you say yes, and then we start working toward implementation. And so that's why I'm comfortable approving the policy tonight, because I'd like to see some of these things start getting fleshed out. And Director Shields has rightly identified, yeah, we could start doing a little better job on the AR and start thinking a little more broadly about types of events that we expect to cover. And Chair Slawski mentioned transportation. What would that look like? And hopefully your David Douglas and Portland Public School counterparts have tackled some of those things, so you have some models, but maybe not. Maybe it's something to think about ourselves.
And an additional piece, many of our ARs give us lots of details and guidance, and then we also often have additional district processes that are documented also. So that's something that we may not be able to capture everything in an AR, but we would have a district document that we would be using with staff that would support the processes. And I think PACE would appreciate that as well.
Thank you, and thank you for that clarification, Director Andrews. That was helpful. At this point, is there a call for a motion for approving this policy?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, it looks like there's a couple of hands before we can vote. Director Lynn and then Director Shields.
I would defer to Director Shields. She had her hand up first.
Oh, okay.
Just, I was wanting to know if we can go ahead and, this is a first read, so, this is, and this is not saying, it doesn't say first read with the option to approve tonight. That being said, could we approve the policy and then come back and look at the AR with some additional fleshing out with some additional information, but already have this policy in place? Is that an acceptable halfway point? Because the motion, as I heard it, was to approve the policy. You didn't mention the AR, so I can be in favor of approving the policy and then waiting on the AR. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Lynn?
Yes, thank you. This might be one of the rare times that you hear me say that I'm okay waiting on the AR. I definitely want Director Harden to have a chance to get some more information. And as long as the AR is getting more detailed without getting scaled back or becoming more restrictive, then I'm more than happy for us to kind of work on that a little more. But passing the policy tonight, because it sounds like we're all in favor of that.
Director Wright, do you know if the AR requires board approval?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I bet between Pam and I, we could find it out.
I can check for you quickly if you give me a second. And I have not heard that approving a policy and waiting on the AR is a problem.
Great, that was going to be my other question. I appreciate that. So I think that given that, does that feel okay for you, Director Wright and Director Southerton?
I feel like we've been provided a lot of information, and if the policy is approved, that gives us information because with the time frame of when school starts, we're able to work through a lot of those additional details that we would need anyways, that it sounds like the board is wanting to help increase the knowledge and knowing how we would be able to handle this. So I feel like we'd be able to meet that
Great.
even prior to school starting.
Thank you so much.
Chair
Yes.
Solaski. The policy is required. I'll walk out on a limb and say if the policy is required, most likely the AR is required as well. I can't find any information that's counter to that.
Great.
So,
Okay. I think that at this point, it's moved and seconded that we adopt the policy and not the AR at this point in time. Are we ready for a vote? Excellent. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. For approving.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Director Harden. It is 5-4 and 1 abstained. The ayes have it. We have approved policy JHCD and JHCDA. Thank you very much. With that, looking ahead to future agenda items, Superintendent Owens.
I'll take the first crack at this. So we've got our board retreat at Edgefield scheduled for August. You should have received the calendar invite and information from Board Secretary Jordan. We're tentatively scheduled for, correct me if I'm wrong, 11 to 4, if that's correct? 11 to 4:15. Our tentative agenda is training with Vince, our third installment of 3, doing some team building in no particular order here. If there's time, superintendent's work plan, an overview of the strategic planning process for the coming year, and was mentioned earlier, board committee representative assignments. And so Chair Solowski and I have a planning meeting with Vince from OSBA to talk through what that last training will look like. And so that'll give us a better idea of what we'll be able to accommodate given that 11 to 4:15, 4:30 timeframe. A couple of other odds and ends before I turn it back to Chair Solowski. We have the introduction of our new CHS athletic director and assistant principal coming up. If it's not in August, then we'll do it in the fall. And then a couple of other things. It would be nice to be able to have this board retreat absent of agenda items. I don't know how realistic that's going to be in terms of board action. So there may be a couple of things, including sub rates. And then just another tidbit is there was a question about when the board zone review would take place. And I've had interaction with McKay from Flow Analytics, and looks like we can get that process underway in August and bring it to the board in September. So I just wanted to provide an update on that.
Thank you so much. Director Shields.
Am I clear that we're having a board retreat and a board meeting? Or in lieu of the board meeting? I was just a bit confused. That's all on me.
The intention, I believe, is to be in lieu.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Just one.
Yeah.
Everybody raised it. Okay, good. Just like, all right, guys, I need to know where I'm supposed to be when. Okay, just the one. Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Shields. Any other directors have future agenda items they'd like to bring up at this point in time? Director Andrews, please.
We talked with Scott Rose about the, so this is for October, maybe September, the list of potential projects. It seems like September is not too early to at least roll out the list. And then when we have a better understanding of what contingency we might be able to work with, that might be a follow-on discussion then of what should be on the list. So maybe a topic to talk about what the list should include, what it looks like, and what it doesn't need to have. Yeah, anyway. And then a vote on, at a later meeting on what to include in that.
Thank you. Director Andrews, did you have something you wanted to say?
I just wanted to offer that Superintendent Owens had briefly shared that we're reconvening the long-range facilities planning group, and we anticipate doing that shortly. We have a kickoff meeting actually with DLR Group, who led the long-range facility planning last time. We had a kickoff meeting with Superintendent Owens and I, just kind of a planning next week. And so we'll be reaching out to former members of the long-range facility planning and convene over the summer and into the fall. So we'll be prepared with recommendations to the full board and to the bond oversight committee along that timeline, as suggested, that September, October timeline.
Good.
Thank you. Is there a board representative on the long-range facilities planning?
That's a great question, Chair Slawski. There are two, I believe, that were included last time, the chair position and Jess were last time. So
Right.
I think that's the intention, at least two, maybe even, 3 or 4.
Right, and I attended some of the meetings, it was open, any of the board meetings could come, board members could come, but you're right, Chair Shields and Director Harden were the two designated members.
Great. And that's next week?
We have a meeting next week with DLR.
Okay.
Superintendent Owens and I have a kind of a planning meeting to plan out all the schedule and the invites.
Great. So then the board can consider that at our August thing to see if who.
You see the meetings convening before the August 17th board retreat?
I do not.
Okay, so then we can determine the representation at that point.
Yep.
Thank you.
And unrelated but long awaited, I have a picture of the tennis courts to show. If,
Ooh.
people want to share screen. So this was taken this afternoon. So
Wow.
3 of the 6 courts are long awaited and finally done. The other 3 will be finished tomorrow. You'll notice that rather than the drab green that the old courts were, we have the bright blue and red Centennial school colors for our courts. So very happy that those are should be finished tomorrow after much anticipation and patience and waiting. So just wanted to share that with those attending online and here in person. So.
Great. Thank you so much. I think we have one more hand. Director Lynn, do you have anything for future agenda items?
No, is it an announcements?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to let people know August 14th, Sunday, community groups are having a community festival at Park Lane Park, 2 to 5, August 14th. Just want to let everybody know.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And Director Lynn, can you email that to the board as well too? Because I would like to, I need it to be in the email.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anything else for the good of the order? Excellent.